We're the Yarbroughs.
And I'm Taco.
And I'm Tia.
And this is our love story.
Yep.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. Cộng đồng của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。
Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
bulshada iyo baqaaraha.
My community, my clinic.
So, we met at a choir rehearsal.
No.
No. Which way?
We met at church.
Oh, yeah,
Remember?
yeah.
So our churches used to fellowship together.
Okay, you're talking about the very first.
The very first interaction.
When you were shady, okay.
I was not shady. Our churches were fellowshipping together at a 3:00 service, and you were holding a baby, and someone called you Taco, and I was like, don't call him Taco. Because I thought they were trying to be offensive, and I was sticking up for you. I must have thought,
See?
Look, I was loving on you already.
You was already checking.
And they were like, that's his name. But I'm like, oh. And so then that was kind of our first interaction. I don't know that we talked or anything, but.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing you and your brother standing in the hallway, and that was pretty much, I think we spoke, said hello or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And then I saw you at a skating ring.
Yeah, now the skating ring, now that's a different story. I saw her at a skating ring and she was just, oh gosh.
I was
yes,
not.
you were.
I was not.
Listen, you were so like, I don't know. She was the Miss Popular, so she didn't, I remember she was like, hi.
This is not a true story.
Yes.
But anyway, we saw each other at a skating ring, and then it was the choir rehearsal. We would say that's the first official time we met.
First official time that we met is at choir rehearsal. She was a new choir member.
Yep.
And so she came, we were in Youth for Christ Shabbat Choir. Shout out to Pam and Joe.
Hey.
And so there was a question, we were singing a song, and so what was big about those choir rehearsals were they wanted us to understand what we were singing about. Mm-hmm. And so this song was, it was a deep song. It was talking about the holies of holies, and Pam was like, hey, so she said, hold on, stop. Does anybody know about the holies of holies? And then, everybody's looking around like, nobody had been to Bible study, clearly, because we did not know.
Oh, that's funny.
And then this new member, she goes, she lifts her hand, and she got up, and she stood up all quiet, and she broke down the holies of holies, and she was just talking about the holies of holy, and if you weren't found this and that and that. And I leaned back, and I looked at my cousin, and I was like, that's my wife. And then after choir rehearsal, it was so funny because I didn't know her. And I remember going to tell the choir director, I said, that's my wife. Because I was like, wait a minute, she got the word in her, huh? She had the word in her, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to have that. But
that's what you saw? You saw the word in me?
The word in you. Uh-huh. You had to be 16.
I was 17.
No, you were 16.
I was
you
17.
Had to be 16.
I was not 16.
You just turned 17?
Yes, I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 17.
So yeah, and that was pretty much it. And then the church that we had first initially met at, I might have left that church and started going to her church, and then that's kind of where we kind of befriended one another. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So we started being friends at church, and so.
And you was at camp, Tell them how you was like, tell Taco, I can't wait to see him.
Yes, I started thinking about, I was doing some shuffling of people in my life, and started to think about like who I was surrounded by, and just wanted to be around people who were a bit more, I guess, God-centered at the time. And so I was young. I grew up in the church, and so it wasn't foreign to me to try to seek out youth who love God too. And so I knew Taco was one of those youth who love God. And so I remember plotting a bit. I was at a youth camp, a Young Leaf camp. That's a whole other story. But I was at a Young Leaf camp, and I remember thinking about, oh my goodness, I need to start thinking about who I'm surrounded by. And then Taco popped in my head, and I remember being on the phone with my dad and saying, tell Taco I said hi. And
We're gonna hold that thought. See that? It popped into her head. See?
Oh, gosh.
All right, hold that.
And so, yes. And so I got back, and then we became tight. So like my whole, I guess that would have been my junior and senior year.
Junior and senior year.
We just hung out, and he would pick me up from school early, and we go get food.
I had a little hoopty, had me a little, Cutlass
with a Cutlass.
We used to be in that joint. You remember?
I remember the Cutlass, and he would pick me up, and we'd hang out, and we were just good friends. We were really just friends. That's kind of the crux of it.
Friends who really loved each other.
Yeah. You wanna tell about kind of how we became that transition from like friends, because that's our first official meeting.
Well, we were best friends for a long time, for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, she had been in different relationships, and I was there being her best friend.
I wasn't in a whole lot of relationships.
Well, if you want to, hey, maybe you talk to a bunch of people. So I'm just waiting.
Don't try to make me sound loose. No. I know.
No.
I know.
Nah, but she had, she was in a long relationship, and, it had ended, and she had got out of it. And I was done. I was like, man, she keeps getting hurt, man. It's like, man, I really love her. And before that, she didn't know, but I had this dream when I was younger. I know we're gonna get a little deep, but I had a dream that, and in the dream, I basically, I knew that she was my wife, and so I kept it from her. I didn't tell her about the dream. I wrote it down. I journaled it. So it was, I think it was 2001. And so I just didn't say nothing. I was just like, nah, because she was going the other route. She was, she had a boyfriend and then a second boyfriend. I was just like, it's two. This isn't a matter of
I know.
It was just
I'm being funny.
That's over the span of like 7 years. Like, come on.
I know.
You could have two boyfriends in 7 years.
I know. I'm being funny. Okay, go ahead.
No, you just messed me up.
No, you wrote it down and then.
Wrote it down. I was real heavy, so I prayed on it, and I just was like, nah, it wasn't the time. But, the last relationship, she was, done, and it was a lot. And so, that last relationship, I couldn't take it. I was like, nah, we can't be friends, because I was getting older, and I was just like, man, I can't, I love her too much in my mind. So I just separated myself, and so when, that was coming to an end, she came back, and she was like, hey, I need my best friend, and we talked and we worked through some stuff. Then I took her to Daniel's Broiler, and I
love Daniel's Broiler. They got that shrimp. That stuff is good.
You know what? You will not talk about those shrimp.
Come on, man, those shrimp.
Come on.
Okay, come on. We
and
like
then those skewers. See, we'll talk about that. That's another battle.
The steaks are good too, but the shrimp is worth going. Go ahead.
Greedy.
I know.
And so we're sitting at Daniel's Broiler talking, and she's eating, and then
you was eating too.
That's okay.
I'm being funny. Go ahead.
I was eating. And so I just looked at her and I told her, I was like, I love you. And she was like, oh, she used to call me Bookie Bear. Now, I don't know remember that thought. So I don't know what best friend calls their friend Bookie Bear.
I did call him Bookie Bear.
Bookie Bear. And so I told her, I was like, man, I said, I love you. And then she was like, oh, that's so sweet, Bookie Bear. And I was like, nah, this ain't Bookie Bear.
Yeah.
I love you. Like I want to be with you. I want to and I said, God told me that you were my wife. And she starts looking at me like, huh? And I was like, I didn't tell you this, but I had a dream 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I explained the dream to her and I told her, and I was like, I'm tired of seeing you hurt. I'm tired of seeing you go through these different, ups and downs. And I was like, man, we're best friends. We love each other. Love me. And essentially I was like, I want to marry you. And so from there, that's when we started to date.
Mm-hmm. I think what was great about this is that, or just unique, is that we had been friends. And so we had established this kind of foundation where we shared a lot. We spent a lot of time together. And I remember him saying, you saying, I love you. Like, I'm in love with you. And I remember saying that moment when I was like, I love you too. And you're like, nah, not like, not like, hey, buddy love, like love you when you send in a text. no, I love you. And I remember being just really, I don't know, I just felt a comfort that I don't think I had felt before in any other relationship with a man where I really believed him. And it was, it was special. And I remember thinking, wow, this is going to be a transition. Like, how do we go from just being friends and homies to kind of this more romantic love? And it took time. I think that's, to be honest, I was open to it. And it wasn't that I had never considered him. I just thought, well, how do you go from, this friendship, this platonic space, to now you're going to be romantic and intimate with one another? And we had already shared intimacy, but, again, transitioning from just that love of a friend to love of a romance. And I think it was quite beautiful. I mean, it definitely had its ups and downs. I think we were young. And so you take somebody, we're 22 at this time, 23. We got engaged.
25.
You were 25, but I think I was like 22, 23. And so, it was going to be a transition, and it was a transition. And I had some other relationships. I mean, if we're being 100, I had some other relationships that I needed to deal with that stuff. And so I got into another relationship with my best friend who I thought he could help me carry some of this. And we know that in real life, you got to deal with that stuff.
Yes,
and
you
so I think we journeyed together. And so we've been together for 14 years now. And
I say 15 because
he just makes up a whole nother year. I don't know where he gets it from.
She forgets.
But,
Listen.
We've been together for 14 years, and we've been married for 12. And so it's been a journey.
14
I think.
and a half. Can I get a half?
It's not true.
Tomato. 14 years, 14 and a half, same thing.
So we've been together for 14 years and married for 12. And so we were engaged for 2 years. And that 2-year span, I know we pushed the wedding back because I was in graduate school. And so I was going to be a teacher.
It was coming. And the thing about it is it was coming too fast. Mm-hmm. It just was. And the other part of it is that we got engaged on my golden birthday. So I turned 25 on the 25th. So she was planning this real big, extravagant birthday party for me. She's a chicken with her head cut off that week. And at the same time, I had to fly out to go do a family that was, being drafted into the NBA. So it was like, this is the birthday party on Saturday. Then I leave the very next morning, early in the morning. So, she's planning this party with her whole family. And, she doesn't really know that she's planning my birthday, but it's really our engagement party. Yeah. So I had already sourced all her friends. Everybody was coming. I was, and so that process was amazing. So me and her brother, so we actually had went back to Daniel's Boiler, the first place that I told her that she was my wife and that I loved her. And I filmed a spot, and I went into this spiel because I knew was doing the slideshow and all this other stuff. So we were like, hey, well, let's put this on the very end of the slideshow, and then we'll do this whole thing. Yeah.
And then what was great is that, again, I'm planning this party, and it was funny because I thought it was unique that my parents were helping me at a high level. Because, they had seen me kind of be in other relationships and they would help do stuff. But I thought it was a little fishy that they were helping at such a high level. And everybody was really invested in Taco's 25th birthday. And I'm like, wow, this is really nice. They're really invested in his birthday. And so we got the community center and the tables and the food, and everybody was on board. And and so I felt really supported. And so all my friends were coming.
College, everybody.
Yeah, and so it was really cool. And then I think what was dope is that I had wrote this poem. And so it kind of set the stage oh, does she know? And I did not know. And granted, there were people who were a slight lightweight.
Trying to mess up the proposal.
Yeah, because people were like, well, what if he asked you to marry you or something like that? And I remember thinking that's not going to happen. And
which I was ready to take all of those people's heads off. And the family had to go hard to be like, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And so anyways, I'm doing this big poem. This room full of people are there. All his closest friends were honoring Taco because he's turning 25 on the 25th. It's his golden birthday. And so I'm doing this poem about how I love him and kind of the nuances of dating a hairstylist, as busy as he was and as gifted as he is. He was incredibly busy. Anyways, I'm doing this poem. And so the slideshow plays, and
it gets to the end, and she hears my voice, and she turns around what is going on here? Like, she was like, this is not, I saw her like, stop it. She was trying to tell Joshua, like, stop. And he was like, keep going. Like, he was like, turn around. And so she turned around, she's looking, and then I was talking to her, the other thing. And then so she's looking, and then while she's looking at the screen, then my cousin sneaks up and brings me the ring. And then when she turns around, I'm on my knees. And then because it ends with, I said, I just want to know what you're doing for the rest of your life. And I was like, will you?
I remember that.
And then it cuts off. And then I was like, marry me. And then I feel these bars. Man, come on.
But I remember I was just so incredibly overwhelmed. And
listen,
I just started crying.
She started crying, and she said yes. And that was all I saw for her for the rest of the evening. Like, it was like, no, hon. Her friends are like, whoosh, whoosh. And it was just like crazy. But it was dope. It was beautiful.
Yep.
And
I cried. I remember I was just
she cried
overwhelmed.
so hard.
And that's like every girl's dream, right? You're just, and maybe it's not every girl's dream, and that's okay if it's not. But I know for me, my friends tease me about, I was the first of kind of the crew from college or whatever to get married. And there were some other people who had got married before us, but like folks I went to school with, they were like, Tia, you've been trying to get married. And so it was crazy to be kind of the first of that set to be getting married. And I remember we forgot to tell one of our friends, and she just cried like she was at a funeral. They were like, oh, we forgot to tell.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Lex?
She did not know.
She didn't know.
Nobody
but
knew.
anyways, it was great. It was great. And so, it was really... Gosh, it was again, everybody was in on it, and I didn't know.
She had no
clue. To me, everything came together so nicely. I remember my brother asked me if I got a ring, what I wanted to look like, and he had me draw it. And again, these are all these little things that are happening up until kind of the months of planning this party.
And a big part of that is when it comes to the ring, is that this ring, look, I knew that she told me, I don't want no, she was telling Joshua, she didn't want no chips and no cluster, the rings with all the.
I just wanted you to be able to see it.
She just wanted to be able to see. So I was like, oh man, at the time, I remember talking my sister, Valerie Alexander, I was like, listen, she want an NFL ring.
You're so silly.
And so she was like, well, Taco, this is what we're going to do. So we just planned it out. And I was like, she said, we're going to work real hard. I said, I'm going to work 10 days. In 10 days, back then, before it was before the recession hit, I was thriving, so I was killing the game. And so I took I talked to all of my players' wives, and they all scheduled their families, which was so beautiful that they all supported me with supported my gift and my engagement by bringing their families together to be able to pay me. So it wasn't like they just gave me money, but essentially they gave me money because they were like, well, you can do my sisters. And so I worked for 10 days straight, and I did a lot of those guys, and they blessed me. And I had some guap, and I went and I was like, yeah, we're not doing no layaways. We're going to pay this ring off now. So, 10 days I paid for the complete ring, and it was beautiful. And then, one thing that I would really say is that outside of just, rewinding back to where we first met and when I said that she was my wife and all of those different things, I think that what was one of the biggest things for me was the selling point for me was coming from a family where, it was a broken home. My parents were divorced very early. And so her parents in the church that we went to, they were some of the oldest married people. And at that time, they were married for 40-something years, and I thought that was amazing. And they were healthy. And so, going to her parents' house for, Christmases and those different things, there was a different family dynamic that I knew that I wanted. I just didn't know, like exactly how that was going to translate later on, but I knew that I wanted that. And then my desire to want their daughter, I looked at their marriage and I was like, if there's anything that we could go through the hardest times, I know that they would be there to be a support system and to like get us through it, because they had went through some things, you know what I'm saying? And I think that I looked at that as a rule break, like to look like, say, if her parents can be married for 40-something years, then that means that this is inside of her that I know that there's some core values inside of her that would speak to longevity and speak to faithfulness, and just all of that stuff, no matter what comes along. So
and I think too, that's going back to me always wanting to be married, having a desire to be married. I think it does comes from having seen marriage my whole life, and I think what was unique about our situation is that we had been friends, we had known each other a long time, but also our commitment to our faith. You know, that was how we met. We met at a church choir rehearsal. We met, you know, we became friends through church activities and events. And then we also had a chance to kind of just build. And again, everything wasn't church. I don't want to make it sound like we just went to church all the time. I mean, we did go a lot back then.
Because we did kick it for one season, huh? We was out there at that good old...
You're so silly.
With Carlos. I was just going to throw that in there.
We were with Carlos.
We with Carlos.
You're so silly. He was
the one throwing the parties.
You're so silly. Yeah, we did go to some of those. But yeah, I think it was, you know, my parents, they were my example. You know, They loved each other, and they got married at 16 and 19, which sounds insane now. But again, they're from an era where people got married really young, and they hung in there. And they had went through everything. And so that was my model. That was my example of people who continued to strive to be together even when it was challenging. And so when we started to hit our challenges, my mom and dad became some of the mentors in our life that held our hand.
So those are some of the tools.
Yeah. And so when we started to journey through being married, what that looks like, one of the things that we haven't mentioned is we got married in June, and I was pregnant by October. And so we became...
I had another dream about before we got married. And I told her we were going to have a baby early.
Yeah, and I didn't believe that. And then I had a baby. And so anyways, with all that, like newlyweds, then becoming parents in the first year, I mean, that's hard. It was a lot. And
it is hard trying to adjust. And then think about it, like to rewind, I mean to cut you off, babe, but
you did cut
I did cut you off, but I just felt the need because it was perfect timing. And speaking to what you said earlier about just friend groups, we were the first of our crew. So what the blessing in that was that we were surrounded by a lot of people. But then also the flip side of that, the negative part of that is that we had a lot of people that leaned on us because we were the examples. We were the first ones to get married. So there was always somebody there. There was always somebody around. So that ability to be able to join together as one was kind of, it was harder to do because we felt the obligation to our friends and family, which we love. But, you know, it also, you know, having a kid early in that. So that's what kind of, you know, brought forth some of the challenges that we had to work through. And so you can piggyback off of that.
Yeah, no, I think that's honest. I think we were, again, I look at it like.
And then learning ourselves though too, you know what I'm saying?
I think being kids, because we were young. We were like, you know, and we say kids now because we're in our late 30s, but, you know, being in your early 20s, deciding you're going to be married and be parents and all of that is big.
And you don't really know. Like, you're like, hey, I love you. And like, you know, if you're thinking about getting married, like, I think that you need to be thoughtful about, you know, your core values, you know, because those are the things that'll carry you through and through the hard times. You know, not being in a rush and letting people influence your time because, you know, being from the church, you know, they're like, okay, now it's better for you to marry than to burn, and, you know, and all those different things. So you feel kind of like, oh, I got to hurry up and get married. Let me hurry up. But counseling is essential. You know, like you need to do those different things before you're, you know, just saying I do. And it's not just enough to know that you love that person. You need to know that you are in it for the long haul. You know, this isn't something you sign up for 6 months and, you know, you like them and you figure out, oh, I don't really like you that much, because there's going to be moments where you don't like each other.
Yeah. I had a mentor tell me one time, she said, it's hard enough to do it when it's right. She said, just think about when it's wrong.
Yeah.
And so I remember that sticking with me, like when it's going to be challenging. And so even when you feel that assurance in yourself saying, this is the one, I love this person, you know, we vibe on these levels, we have the same core values, you know, you're still merging two lives. You still have two backgrounds you're coming from and very individualistic. Like you're still two people, you know, becoming one flesh. And so when you think about that, you know, it's gonna take work, and it's not gonna happen overnight. And I wish someone had said that, because you know, there's times where you give up too early. You know, we had moments in our marriage where like, are we gonna be able to do this?
Is this it?
You know, and the things that really reset us was going back to
our core
values. And the thing is our friendship. You know, I think sex and romance and love are beautiful, and they're very much a part of the kind of the fabric that holds relationships together, but the reality of it is our friendship, us knowing that we cared for each other in a way, and that I wanted to see him win, and he wanted to see me win. Those were the things that were going to really help to support us. The other thing that was really essential is going back to that mentorship, finding other couples that love being married.
Man.
I think it's hard when, and I'm going to say this out loud. If you're around people who aren't married and you are, it's hard to look at marriage and go, gosh, marriage is really beautiful. And you might say that anyway, good for you. But I know for me, if I'm surrounded by people who are not married or who don't enjoy being married or who don't speak highly of marriage or who don't encourage you to stay married, it's harder to want to be in this because you don't see those examples of people struggling and then finding a balance and then finding a pace. And so I just think that it's essential that you find other couples that are at your level where you're at, and then couples that you can aspire to be like as well, that have found a vibe or have gone through what you've gone through and can encourage you to stay at it because it gets better. And it does get better. I think that's what people
It does.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, I think the hardest times in your marriage, you feel like when things are like done, there's moments you just feel like, I am done with you.
Yeah.
I don't like you. And you're just like, it's real. You be like, I just don't like you. I'm not feeling this right now. And then, the thing about it is that love does cover all. It just covers everything. And, the truth is that I loved her. I love her. And, that's my thing is that I'll forever, that's the thing. Love covers. So I'll cover. I love you too, babe. And so we always, we're always in it to fight. We're always like, you know what, no matter what happens, we're like, nah, bro, I'm not just giving up. And I'm like Beyonce when she's like, I'll be dang if I see somebody on your arm, I'll be dang, hold on, I done put all this work in, we done battled, we done did counselings and all this stuff. Nah, I'm not giving up. And so those are some of the things that, the core value is love. And if you really love each other, you cover one another no matter what, you cover one another. And you cover one another in a way that's forgiving, that is, that rebuilds trust or whatever it is that, you go through. And it's just, financial, those different things. I was young and I was just to tap into there. My wife, her parents, everything, they took good care of her. She's the baby. She's the only girl. She's spoiled, Yes, you're spoiled. Me, I had to fight for everything that I have, And so I just operated in my own space. So everything was, on my terms. And in marriage, it's not just on your terms. So I would buy cars on my own. I'd go to a whole car load, couldn't come home with a whole brand new car. And I knew I was popping it. So I'm like, I can afford an $850 car note. And she's like, what is wrong with you? No, I got it, because we got it like that, But, I didn't bounce things off of her. Just all those different things. And now, growing up, the values change. So it's not about cars. It's about what do we leave for Harlem, Reign, and Nile? What does it look like? Do we have equity? Like, what are we building our life towards? And so it's just building. And so now, our values are the same. We're on one accord.
But it took work to get there. I want to say that.
It did.
I keep saying that out loud because, again, you think about 12 years of being married, and I think about our first 5 years of marriage and then the next 5 and then kind of the season that we're in now. It's just been, it's been a transition and it's been a journey, but it's been one that has continued to grow us up. And I think when you first get married, no matter what age you are, I think you do come into it the later in life, maybe that you get married, you might be a bit more fixed. But I think the other thing that happens too is that maybe you come in with more tools because you're more mature. But, getting married young, I just want to encourage folks that are young at this and people that are in their middle life part of this season that you're in, whatever phase you're in, it's going to take work and it's going to take compromise. You don't know everything. And so even with my background, having come from a 2-parent household, rooted in the church, in a family, I still had stuff, and you might say, well, he came from,
a single parent household.
Yeah. And so he still had stuff too. And so none was better than the other, but we had to learn how to merge those two and figure out what was going to be the Yarbrough way, this Yarbrough. And I think I needed to let go of some of those identities that I had, again, being young and being proud to be a Fields.
Yeah.
I was a Fields. I was Tia Fields. People didn't even call me Tia. It was Tia Fields. And so I think having to let go of some of that and really cleave to my husband and say, what does it mean for us to be together and to unite? And I think the real power that we have seen is that we're stronger together. We always have this little thing, TNT, because we're dynamite. You
Yeah,
know?
literally.
And so, like, the power really lies in us being unified and being one. And I would say the beauty in that is that it's you two against everybody. And it's not in a confrontational way or a negative way, but it really is like when this is strong, you can do whatever. It really, and I know it feels like that for me, that when him and I are at our best and we're loving each other and we've learned to talk to each other, we've learned to say, hey, I didn't like the way that sounded, or you seem a little turned up, you know, and being able to communicate and be able to say, hey, this is what's on my heart, or I'm a little sad today and that's why my energy's off. You know,
learning love styles, love languages. That is very key because, you know, my wife, there's a certain way, like she didn't grow up with a whole lot of, you know, my family, we're the Yarbroughs. If anybody knows the Yarbroughs, we're some loud people. We just loud. We just talk all loud and,
you know, loud.
Very loud. And hey, shout out to the Yarbroughs. We still, you know, but we're loyal. You know what I'm saying? We'll hold it down. We have people's backs. You know, we're very family oriented. So like anybody and their mama could probably live with us. You know, so not over here. They didn't grow up like that. They're very, I used to say.
That's not true.
It's very much their family, you know, but which is cool though at the same time because I used to look at it like, man, come on, it's them against me. But that's not even what it was. you know, that's just how it is. But now, I mean, my family, we're just, you know, we're all together. We work together. I mean, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, my mom. You know, it's just when you start going through life and the challenges come, you really realize what you really need and what is really valuable. And I would say, even just recently, I think that we had a resurge in just our commitment, just even through COVID, you know, because we were forced to, you know, you everyday life, you know, me being a hairstylist and whatever you want to call it, celebrity hairstylist, and her being an assistant principal / poet, you know, those are two different worlds. And so our schedules would, most oftentimes they would, you know, they would cross. They wouldn't be together. When I'm coming off of work, she's coming home and I'm still at work. So coming home late and then she's tired because she has to get up early. So, you know, a lot of times you miss each other and, you know, you get into a system and of missing each other. And what COVID was
actually missing each other. Like, like, so we would miss each other in terms of schedule, but then miss each other in terms of time. And so I think what COVID did, it slowed us down because I was working from home and then shutting down our businesses.
I wasn't working at all.
Yeah. And so what it did was that, like my love language is acts of service and words of confirmation, physical touch too. But yes, some of the other, and his love language is gifts. And so to me,
gifts
it would be funny. And physical touch and words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation probably my second.
Yeah. And so what is funny is that early on in our marriage, he would buy me gifts, and I thought that was nice, but that's not my love language. I'm like, I grew up
Chanel,
I grew up with a whole bunch of stuff. I don't need no more stuff. I'm like, I just need
turn
you.
Them down.
He's so funny. I said, I just need you to help wash the dishes and stuff. Like those things made me feel loved. But I think what COVID has done is
wash the dishes.
No, it's just acts of service, you know, because I felt prioritized. Like, oh, let me look out. She's been at work all day. Let me catch dinner. Let me clean up a little bit. And those things made me feel thought of. And so he had to learn that. Just like I used to think, why do I need to buy him things? He has stuff. But that was his love language. And so being more intentional with honoring his love language, I think has really made a difference too. But going back to this time right now, us being together, we got a chance to really, you know, really kind of look at our marriage and what it had become over the years. You know, it was year 11 and a half, you know, and so, you know, we're looking and so much had happened, you know. Yeah. So that first year of marriage, we got married in 2008, I'm sorry. We had Harlem in 2009, and then we didn't have any children. We had Harlem and didn't have any for 6 years.
5 years.
And then we had Reign. And then we had Nile back to back. And so there was no air between those two pregnancies. I gave birth to Reign in September of 2015.
The next year,
I gave birth to Nile October of 2016. And so those babies were back to back, like Drake.
13 months apart.
13 months apart. And so that was a whirlwind. And so, assistant principal, 2 babies, and he had a big travel schedule prior to that. And so he was traveling in and out of the country. He was working for the money team and doing some other stuff. And so, he was gone all the time. He was in Vegas and he was traveling. And so trying to figure out now, what does it mean to be in this season? We've got 2 little toddlers or little kids. We've got a kid. Now I've got a middle schooler. I can't believe Harlem's in middle school.
And 2 preschoolers at the same time.
Right. And so then on top of that, we had some sickness in our family. And so his mother got diagnosed with liver cancer.
6 months later.
My dad got diagnosed with the same
thing.
cancer. And then Harlem got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
Probably 6 months after that.
It was just, it all happened at the same time. And so we had got transactional, if I can say that. It was like, you're gonna get the kids? Who's got dinner? Okay, I'm gone. I gotta work late. Okay, so you're gonna pick her up from dance? Okay, my mama keep the kids. And so it became about kind of the duties to run a house, but it stopped being about each other. And so COVID helped us to return to, wow.
We matter. You and I matter.
Yeah, and we had some extra time.
Yeah.
And so we had some extra time to be like, man, it's been a long time. And so our thing became rides. It wasn't nowhere to go. Everything was shut down.
Yeah.
And so we would take rides.
Multiple times a day.
And we would talk.
And we would leave our kids. And I'd be like, they will be fine.
Yeah.
And
we would talk. And I think it had been a long time. We're like, gosh, we haven't talked in a long time. And then we started to talk about the ways in which, how we
got married, just how.
And then how it became transactional.
Yeah.
How did we get to a space where it was just about what needed to be done, and it wasn't about kind of the love that had brought us together and the friendship that had brought us together. And so that's what's been beautiful about this time, is that we've been able to calibrate and say, hey, recalibrate actually, and look at who we are as a family, who we are as a married couple, and then prioritizing ourselves. And so we snuck a date night in there on Fridays. We would make sure that, we would grab something to eat, even if it was going.
It's a drive-through.
A drive-through.
Now, mind you, everything's to go.
Especially at the beginning.
Just at the beginning, but we doing that, and just some other tools, counseling. I think sometimes Black people, we are afraid, like especially men. Like I was fearful, like I'm not going. Ain't nobody finna be telling me what I need to do. They don't know me. They don't know my life. They don't know what I came through. Yeah, I was like, nah, man.
You're so much.
You know what I'm saying? But then. The first counseling session, I'm the first one crying. Like, oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. But no, it's really, I think if we can dispel a myth, like that money that you want to buy that handbag with or the car, you need to get you some therapy.
Forget the Birkin bag. Don't spend the $14,000 on the Birkin bag. Get you a year's worth of some real counseling.
Yeah.
So that you can work through some of those traumas.
Yeah.
Because we all have them. People want to deny them, but we have them.
Yeah.
And we have to, you're coming into a marriage and life together with those, and you're trying to merge and become one. And counseling helps you to, gives you tools to be able to operate within, not even within your traumas, but helps you to get delivered from those traumas, and then tools to be able to manage them so that they don't show up in your marriage in a negative way.
Yeah. And then it helps you to, I think what is really essential about it is it gives you the language to unpack what's happening.
Exactly. Because sometimes you don't know what you really feel.
Yeah, and then sometimes you're like being triggered by things and you don't know that's a trigger, and you don't know why you feel the way you do, and you don't know why this thing still kind of haunts you. And so I feel like being able to talk to somebody who's kind of objective, like we talked about my parents being essential, but yeah, they're still my parents, right? They're Team Tia. I mean, they're Team What's Right. My mom likes to say that. She goes, now you know me for what's right. I said, yes, Mom, I know. And so they were always for what's right. But
they lead a little bit more. Well, my daughter, this is the way that you have to. I'm like, well, what about me, Mom?
This is so funny. And so I think what counseling has done, so we've done counseling together, and then we've also done that individual counseling. And so you get a chance to kind of work through the stuff that has made you. And so, again, when I talk about this toolkit, if we can talk about it in that way, that toolkit to a successful Black marriage would be God. Yes, I was going to say that first. Like that relationship with God and being able to recenter yourself, because that was what brought us together. Like it was our love for God. That was how we became friends, and then needing to return to that, but also being unafraid to deal with the hard stuff, which is your junk. Like when you say something needs to change, it's you. Like you need to change. And sometimes you think, see, if he would stop, and see, if he would not, and then what happens is you get to look in the mirror and say, how am I responding to this? How am I?
And why?
Yeah, and how your traumas and how the things that you've gone through inform who you are and how you relate to others. And so that has been, I would say gold. It would
Gold.
be the therapy's the goal, and that helps you talk to one another. And then, we started doing things that people probably don't even talk about. We pray together. We pray together.
Devotion.
We do devotions together. We'll be like, oh, I had this thing I read earlier today. It completely reminded me of us. Or this thing that I'm dealing with. Yeah, like we do
singing
other
little songs.
Yeah.
Just the things that brought that fortified our friendship. Because that, again, to speak back to what she said, our friendship, that was the core. And the things that fortified that in the beginning were, I would meet her. We wouldn't be riding in the streets. I would meet her at prayer revival. That's just the truth. Friday night, oh, what time you gonna be there? Okay, well, I get off at 6:30. It starts at 7. Okay, I'll be there about 7:15. We'll meet at that back row on that first pew, and it was prayer. And I mean, that's just the thing. It's not to be deep, but it's just to be honest. Like, in returning back to that has been what has helped us to realign ourselves with God first in ourselves, because, I mean, at the end of the day, when COVID hit, we were fighting an invisible enemy. We can't see COVID. We can't see anything. And so prayers has been essential for us. And, we
just that recentering.
Yeah, that recentering.
And I think and whatever your spirituality is, I think it's important that you come together. What is going to be the thing or the tool you're going to use to come together? For us, it was returning to our first love, which was Christ. And then also being honest about all the stuff that had got in the way of us loving each other. And so really being able to unpack that and spend the time to do that has made the difference. Yeah. Again, when you think about the Black love, and I think Black love is unique because it has so much opposition. And you might say, well, where's this opposition coming from? I think when love is seen, we don't get to see enough of like healthy ways that Black folks love each other.
Exactly.
And I think that, especially in the era, and again, all these things have their place. So I'm not like, taking digs at it, but like reality TV and like love and hip hop and you like all these things where you get to see this entertainment, but like when do we get to see like healthy Black couples love each other? And I think it's important that Black love is elevated because when you do see it, you're so inspired by it.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about couples who stay together for a long time and even the celebrity couples that have had their challenges and have been open about them and then decided to say, we're going to hang in there or we're going to stay at it. Like those stories are inspirational because they, to me, reflect what's real. And what's real is that you're going to have challenges and you're going to be met with opposition. But what is your commitment to stay together? And I feel like Black love is so powerful because it speaks to the Black family. It speaks to what it takes to really grow and to develop into a strong core. I think about the ways that when I was growing up, I love that I had a mom and a dad and that I had brothers and, there was extended family as well. But I think being able to always come back to that center and that model of what it meant to love one another unconditionally. And so I think it's important to have other couples that you spend time with. I remember there's things that I have that I didn't even know I wanted. Like being on a thread with another couple and y'all is talking trash and sending each other memes and text messages and that they live not too far from here. And so we meet up for dinner and our kids play together. And that is not necessarily planned. It might be me and my friend just saying, yo, what y'all doing? We coming through. And I'm like, okay, you bring the drinks and I got some food that I can warm up the spaghetti or whatever. And like how powerful it is to know that you're in that season together and that you're building. And they might come over and it's the midst of a time where I felt the way about him. And like there's this big thing about people not being in your business. I don't want nobody in my business but like there's a power in finding a trusted confidant, people that love and that are rooting for you. And that's different than somebody being in your business because what it does, it helps to keep you all accountable to each other and it's a safe space. And so it takes time and I'm encouraging you to use wisdom in finding that safe space, but having other couples you can build with who are having their same challenges and that you're able to use those as examples to say, hey, there's other people who are experiencing this just like us and they're figuring it out and having that allyship is beautiful. And so I think that has been the most pivotal shift is being in community and covenant with other couples and spending time with them and being out and about and knowing that there's somebody that's looking at you that you don't even know.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, we'll go different places and we get so many compliments of how beautiful our family is. And it's not just from Black people, it's from people from all walks of life. And so for me, that's big because, you know, I, on the weekends, would oftentimes go, like I'm at my mom's from Monday to Friday, and then on the weekend, I'm with my dad. And so that was separate. And so it was two different lives. It felt like a lot to manage as a kid, you know, where your heart should be. Is it with my mom or is it with my dad? And that's real issues that you deal with. And so for me, us being together and displaying Black love, it also shows up in our relationship with our children. And for me, displaying Black love charity starts at home, and then it spreads abroad. So before I can be an example to the world out there, I need to be an example of, you know, Black love in my home. And that's loving my 3 daughters' mother correctly, and them seeing an active Black man that can say sorry when he wrongs not only his wife, but does something or says something that's that isn't hit right. And even my daughters, I'm raising them to be vocal about how they feel. And like, you know, like I said, I spoke earlier about me talking loud. My oldest daughter, you know, as she started to get older, she started to get a little intimidated by, you know, when I would be frustrated and I would talk because I talk loud. But I'm like, hold on, no, just because I'm talking loud, I don't want you to be fearful to be able to voice your opinion. So I'm raising her that no matter what man or whoever talks, however kind of way, that you have a voice. And I'm raising my daughters to have that voice. And that, you know, I want them to see their father apologize to their mother and to say, babe,
or even
you know,
to them. You apologize to them.
I apologize to my daughters. I will apologize if I say, Nai, you know, you did this. And she's like, Daddy, but I wasn't. I was sitting here on the couch. And, you know, she explains it to me. And I go, you know what, daughter? And I get down and I say, baby, I am sorry. I didn't mean to say that because I did not know. I thought this was this. And she goes, oh, I forgive you, Daddy. But I'm just teaching them, you know, that it's okay to apologize and for them to see a healthy relationship with a male. You know, because a lot of the portrayal of Black men, that if you're looking media-wise, I mean, it's just disheartening because you see being arrested. Now it's this big, you know, of course we've been getting killed, and you see all this killing of Black men, and then we see separation of families, and you know, it's just I don't know, it's just.
But I think too, you're hitting a good point, is that I don't think there's a lot of safety for Black men.
There it is.
And so Black men don't get a chance to emote like they.
So we have to show up strong.
Yeah, right. And so they don't get to be sad. They don't get to be intimidated. They don't get to be concerned. It's almost like, you know, you got to be on stage 24/7. Like, I'm strong. I can deal with it. It doesn't matter. I got this. You know. And I think what's powerful is that we need to provide space for our men to feel. And I think that's a part of healthy Black love. It's like your husband, he gets down, and he might not say he's down, but being in tune with what does it look like for your mate to be down? What does it look like for your mate to be struggling? Like,
and be okay to say that he feels down and feels safe in his own home. Yeah. Because a lot of time, you know, I think that what has been shown, you know, as far as the media is concerned, is like, you know, we always got to show up strong, and like you said, like, and there's no play on, you know, love and hip hops and all these different things, but it's always like, you know, my man, you know, he ain't no sucker, or, you know, he ain't no punk, so he always got to show up. Yeah, what's up? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? But what is not shown is that same man, his feelings get hurt. You know, he battles emotionally on the inside. There's not a lot of space to be able to show a healthy Black man that is strong, but strong enough to be weak at the same time. I think that's what needs to be shown. And then being in the industry also, you know, we do all these celebrity hair and come in contact with these people, you know, and they are real people that, you know, and a lot of this stuff is not real life. You know, so, you know, I think that why back in the day, the shows that we were drawn to was because it was a display of Black families and to show the different dynamics of those families, i.e. the Cosby Show, Family Matters, and, you know, right now, the modern day show is Blackish. So we have that, but I feel like we need more of that. So to display Black love, for me, I need to see it more visually. I need to see more of a visual representation via television, because everything can't, it's like we just can't see everybody, all of our black men dying every single day. That can't be the dynamic that our kids are, ingesting, like they're receiving. That can't be it. It has to shift. It has to change. So I think, the Black love, the shows, this right here is good. So it'll give our kids something to view, something that's positive, something that they can aspire to have. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. I want to see it more, like Netflix and whatever it is, shows that are positive and that uplift your spirit and encourage you. So
Yeah, I think too, it makes me think about when I was engaged, and so I got engaged so I was getting married. We were 25 by this point. You were 27. I was 25, and I remember I was a teacher. And I had brought my invitations to work, and so the kids were silent reading, and so I told myself I was going to fold a couple invitations while I was there at my desk. And the kids knew I was getting married, and I remember them thinking, "You're going to have a wedding?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they were like, "You're getting married?" And that seemed to them to be kind of an anomaly in some ways, where I think in our community that our kids sometimes don't get to see this healthy representation of love. Like, everything is not. And again, my mom was a teenage mom, and she married my father. And there's all these different roles people travel to get to where they eventually end up. But I think it's important that our youth get to see, hey, there are people who still love each other, that want to get married, that have weddings, and that have marriages, and that they have ups and downs. And it's not, it's not going to be all cookies and cream, but people are making commitments. And I think this narrative about Black men and Black women, and we're at odds all the time. I think we've got to dispel that by having more representations of Black couples that are hanging in there, that tell their stories about having traveled this road and this journey, and they've dealt with a number of things, and they've decided to stick it out. And there's nothing, and for all the ways that there's, as generations change, there's a license to say, hey, if it's not healthy, get out of it. Great. But there's also the other avenue that says, hey, you might have some challenges, and there's some people who did not get out of it and they stayed together. And I just want that to be dual. I think if it's unhealthy and you have to leave, we understand, but there's also people who are saying that, hey, there were some moments where it was unhealthy and we figured out how to work through it because this is what we wanted together. And for us to elevate that too, like with all the ways that we're empowering our men and our women to be strong, that can be exhausting too. Always having to be strong. Like, I'm a school leader, I'm a leader naturally, you lead a home, and then like there's not a lot of space to be weak sometimes, but I think, in your mate, finding that safety to say, I'm having a hard day, or I feel sad. And there's not a lot of spaces that I feel like I can do that in because I got to be a strong Black woman every day, And so I think what's beautiful is being able to come home and to get in his arms and say, I'm sad. And we do that. That's kind of our thing. I'm sad.
Sad.
Yeah, we say, I'm sad. And then we get to talk about, well, what's making you sad, babe? Or what do you need? Or how can I be a support to you? Or, sometimes I get into bed and lay down and I hear him take all the kids because he knows I just need a moment. And so I think figuring out how to love each other. I remember hearing this too, like my family all got these little nuggets. And I remember my dad said, well, the real goal is to figure out how to outlove each other. And I remember thinking, I'm like, that's corny, And I thought it was corny because I wasn't in that space yet.
Yeah.
But when I figured out that was really the truth,
real.
That was real. Because if I'm figuring out how to outlove him and thinking about ways that I can support him in his journey, and then he's doing the same for me, like, I'm like, wow, like that's true. How can I figure out how to outlove what he's doing? Because then we start to meet each other's needs, And so he's a hairstylist and has been our entire relationship. And, initially, like dating somebody who has that kind of job, I remember him working till 2 a.m., pulling these heads, and he's doing weaves and ponytails and bangs and all of this stuff, and how he's just evolved. Now he's like a master stylist when it comes to like lace fronts and wigs and all these things that he does now. But having to be patient through that, and knowing that he had vision, and it's different than me clocking in with the school district every day. And there's some risk in that, but not in the risk in creating your own business and having to bank on securing clientele every day and every week and making sure that they continue to come and they feel invested and thought of, and, all the ways that you have to do and the things you're thinking about to be a stylist. And so I've had to learn how to support him in his vision. And sometimes it's scary. I'm just like, Oh my goodness. I remember him being one day, I remember he sat on the couch. He's like, babe, I just need you to believe in me, man. And I'm
Real,
like,
man.
I'm trying, but it's not concrete. And I'm like, it feels so fluffy. And so I've had to learn to trust his vision, and he's had to learn to make the vision more concrete for me. And so we meet in the middle, right? Where he can say, okay, babe, this is the plan, this is the business plan. And so I just want to say that that's a part of the growth, is being able to say, I believe in your vision. I believe in the salon that you've opened, going from kind of a smaller salon to a bigger salon with more chairs, and then the travel schedule, and then opening up a hair
It's hard.
store.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy being a parent. And at that time, we just had a daughter, so trying to find my way back after we had our
twins.
The twins, traveling and trying to get back on that schedule, but still being respectful, because before I would go a day early to get myself set up, but now like traveling, I know that what's required at home, so I'm very intentional. I'm like, hey, I fly out today and I come back. Sometimes if it's a day trip, I try to get back home the same day. If not, I'm back on the first thing smoking, because I have my house. I have to make sure that my wife is good and our family is okay. And then the other part of it is I used to hang my hat on making more money than her. Like, I was like, man, you're a sensitive principal. Yeah, that's a cute little coin, because I was the sole breadwinner, right? But see, God, he has a strange way of it's showing you how to value, your spouse. Because when COVID hit, there was no coins. There was no appointments. There was no clients. There was none of that. So my wife's little coin was the coin that kept us afloat. So I developed a whole complete different respect and honor for her career. Like, hold on, and then also, I used to feel like, you don't know what it is managing people. I'm talking to people. This is counseling. My brain is fried. At the end of the day, I'm hearing all these stories. This is a lot, man. But then, being able to be at home with her and actually walk through essentially half of a year of end of a school year, and walk through her actual career. Like, it's a lot managing adults and, and kids and schedules and all these different things. So, and then, even through that, being a help to her, because I didn't mind going down there. They had to pass out laptops, and we're counting laptops and passing them out to hundreds of students. And, I found value, and it was beautiful to experience that and to really see how she gets down, how she works. But again, how our lives were crossing, we couldn't see the value. I'm just saying, like, being able to support you helped me to appreciate, your career in the way that you show up as an administrator, because I got to see it firsthand, and to be like an active part of in helping you through some of that stuff. So it's been pretty cool. And then on the flip side of that is reintegrating, coming back to the salon and trying to work on this 50% capacity. I was going crazy about how we were going to make this work. And my wife came up with the system of that, because that's what she does, is create schedules and systems for teachers and stuff. So she was able to integrate her skill set in helping our salon that we own get back on its feet, and still try to make it in this through this pandemic. So yeah,
I think one of the other things too is when I talked about us coming together, us being at home helped us to be more ingratiated in what the other did. And so I stopped seeing myself just as a school administrator and was like, hey, I own a salon. And I didn't always think of it that way, and so being able to go with him, and as he prepared to reopen and make sure that he had all his supplies and the PPE and all those things that were going to be needed for him to get going again, it created a value, and it created an appreciation and an honor for what it is that he did as well. And also with
you, I think, and I'm going to cut you off, because I think what has also been great about this is that my wife is also a spoken word artist, and she's a national spoken word artist. And to me, she's the dopest I've ever heard. So there's some great people out there. Hats off to you. But my wife is doper. It's like, I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. But through this, my wife has been able to reconnect with her gifting. She's not just an administrator. She's not just a mother. she is a poet, and she is an orator. She is a speaker. She is a motivational speaker, and those are the things that she's always wanted to do. And so through this pandemic, I think it's been great that she's been able to just launch herself in a way that is just amazes me. Like learning, shooting like with my brother Carlos for years, photo shoots, videos. He taught me so much stuff. So we are always going to need him. I want to put that out there. I am not a videographer, photographer. If you want him, hit him up, theflavor.com, Carlos Imani, all of those, whatever you need, Carlos Imani, get at him. But he is the reason why I was able to assist her in like filming her for her video shoots and helping me with my eye to be able to say, hey, no, you're not this lighting, do that. And no, it wasn't the greatest, but it was enough to be able to assist her in her helping her soar in this area that she's always wanted to soar in. So, I mean, I'm just super proud of her. And like, even through COVID, she was able to book some really big things. She led, what was that for Facebook, their diversity page. She did 2 poems for their diversity, for their Juneteenth celebration. And that was really big. Like, through COVID, sitting at home, and they're reaching out to her. I'm just like, oh, okay. So, our prayers is that it continues to grow and, she continues to get, the Clark sisters, she wrote a tribute piece about their mother because they had a show that came on Lifetime that was one of the largest shows, movies of Lifetime history, I believe. And so she was able to write a tribute that went viral. And she got, all types of interviews and things from that. So that was a catalyst in that launching pad for her. And so I'm just excited to partner with her in any way that I can. I call myself her husbanger, so I am managing her. If you guys would like to book, you guys can hit us up. I am Tia Nache. That is the IG, and her husbanger will get you taken care of. DM us. I would say for people that for couples that are thinking about getting married, I would say be patient. Don't be in a rush to be married. Don't feel like you're running out of time. You have time, because if we're going based off of time, you are going to spend the rest of your lives together. You don't get married to get out of it. So be sure coming into it, that will give you, that will take away all that fear of time. So take your time.
I would also say too, young folks that are thinking about getting married, I would say do the individual work. I think that doesn't get highlighted enough about the work that needs to be done individually before you become one with someone else. Again, I keep thinking about merging of 2 lives, 2 backgrounds, 2 worlds. And you might say you share so much together, but it's still, you have things that you bring that you don't even know are there unless you've done the work to unpack some of those things. And so I think it's really important that you do that self-inventory, to be reflective and to be thoughtful about who you are and what are the things that have made you you, and kind of the background that has made you you, because there's a lot of amazing things that we bring to spaces, but there's a lot of junk we bring too that we don't even know is junk until we have another person to kind of help scrutinize it a bit.
And then you're triggered and you don't really realize it's a trigger. So
so you get a chance to really think about those things prior to making a commitment, and then also knowing that it's going to be work. And for all the ways that it's beautiful, that it's challenging. And I think, but that's where the love is really birthed. I remember I have all these kind of little aphorisms or sayings, but
she has all the affirmations and sayings. That's what happens when you marry a lit major.
You're so silly. But I think one of the things that is really important is that you're in love and you have these emotions and these feelings and these desires to be with this person, but like true love is formed through experience. Yep. I would say that, I got a friend who said, you think you love each other. And then when you start to go through things and you start to realize what it takes to love somebody unconditionally, what it takes to love somebody through the bad times and the good times and the medium times, and the times where you might feel apart, or the times that you feel like you start to grow, times you don't feel connected. I think those are the times that really help to refine the love that you have for one another. Like you get to really experience.
Yep. and I do have one last nugget. There is no such thing as this is just who I am and I'm set in my way. Marriage is all about changing and transforming into what the other person needs. It's not this thing of, well, this is how you married me. Yeah, that's how I married you, but with the intent that we will both grow. And so in growing, know that you evolve and you change, because what the other person needs doesn't stay the same. Because remember, we are growing, we are aging, we are maturing. And so with that maturing, know that you are going to have to shift some things that worked in the first 5 years will not necessarily work in the next 10. So being able to be aware of that and make those changes, you set yourself up for greatness, and you set yourself up for the long haul, for longevity, and an everlasting love that will carry you to the ends of the earth. And
So-
again,
Yeah, thank you for listening to our love story. Hopefully you learned something and were able to take something away from our experiences.
and we're the Yarbroughs,
And
and
vote Black Love.
Hey.